After having taken a good look at a bunch of range units list, it's time to bring it back to some good old fashioned melee weapons. Hi, my name is Mr. Smardonkey and welcome to the top 8 sword infantry units in Shogun 2. Before we get started, I want to once again mention that this list is as always based mostly on my experiences in legendary difficulty single player campaigns, and thus I would not recommend using this list as a guideline for multiplayer. For this list I judge units on their overall performance. Factors include but are not limited to cost, building requirements and campaign limitations. For this list I had to make a few choices, mainly whether to include Tarakatsu's Tetsubo Warriors, Kisho Ninja and Hanzo Shadows. I decided to include Tarakatsu's Tetsubo Warriors despite them not using a sword, mainly because this category is the only one in which it makes sense to include them. I did however not include Kisho Ninja and Hanzo Shadows in this list, despite them using a sword. I will instead be including them in the siege units list as they have more of a niche role than the other units on this list, and because they are perhaps more comparable in role to firebomb throwers than other sword units. I hope you will understand. Now, onto the units that are included in this list. The sword infantry unit pool consists of a whopping 8 units, of which only 3 are available in the base game. These are Katana Samurai, Nodachi Samurai, and the Katana Hero. The other 5 are all added in through DLC. These are Wako Raiders, Lone Sword Ashigaru, Katana Ronin, Saigen Swordmasters, and Tarakatsu's Tetsubo Warriors, with the Wako Raiders being exclusive to the Mori and the Lone Sword Ashigaru and Katana Ronin being exclusive to the Ikuiki. Now that you've seen the contestants, I'd love to hear your predictions in the comments. Let me know what you think this list will look like. With all that finally out of the way, let's get started with the list. I'm starting this list off a little different than usual, with numbers 8, 7 and 6 in one go. These are Saigen Swordmasters, the Katana Hero and Tarakatsu's Tetsubo Warriors in that order. I'm not gonna lie, this list was probably the toughest to rate so far, which is mostly due to how strong the sword wielding hero units are. It's difficult to place these 3 units lowest on the list as they actually perform quite admirably in most situations. It's more so that all other units have one reason or another for just being a little more valuable, which of course mostly comes down to hero units being only available to recruit once. I promise you all, when I finally get around to making the top hero units list, these ones will get the recognition they deserve. For the purpose of this list though, let's go over them shortly. All 3 are excellent against all other units on this list. All 3 inspire units around them, and all 3 have the Banzai ability. There are a few differences however. The Katana Hero, for example, also has the Hold Firm ability, whereas Tarakatsu's Tetsubo Warriors have the Warcry ability, and Saigen Swordmasters have no extra abilities. The Katana Hero and Saigen Swordmasters are also more difficult to recruit than Tarakatsu's Tetsubo Warriors, needing the legendary Kenjutsu School, whereas Tarakatsu's Tetsubo Warriors only need the Swordmaster School and the Yari Juilliard, which are far easier to acquire. On the other hand, Saigen Swordmasters have the lowest upkeep, the same as that of Samurai units, followed by Tarakatsu's Tetsubo Warriors who share their upkeep of Samurai Cavalry units, and finally the Katana Hero have the highest, sharing their upkeep of only a select few hero units such as the Bow Hero and Yari Hero. There are of course a few differences in stats, with Saigen Swordmaster excelling at the charge but having the lowest melee defense and armor, Tarakatsu's Tetsubo Warriors having the highest melee attack and armor but having the lowest charge bonus, and the Katana Hero having the worst melee attack, average charge, but the highest melee defense. All the differences I mentioned so far are all rather small, and I think all 3 have their merits. You could even consider all of them as one unit and actually having 3 of the same hero unit available rather than 1, but that's not how this list works. So after doing all my testing, I have concluded that Saigen Swordmasters are the worst of the 3. They might have the lowest upkeep, but they have the worst defensive stats, meaning they die the quickest, and they have no extra ability beyond Banzai, which really hurts them a lot compared to the other 2. The Katana Hero takes the middle spot, because despite having the highest upkeep, they have a good combination of attack and defense, and their Hold Firm ability is incredibly useful. The best of the bunch though are Tarakatsu's Tetsubo Warriors, as they have what are in my opinion the best melee stats, the easiest recruitment requirements and a very useful ability in Warcry. Hopefully this mini top 3 inside the top 8 of sword infantry units has been entertaining if not useful, but it's finally time to move on. At number 5 I've placed Katana Ronin. This is one of those units that just doesn't really have anything special going for it, and is outclassed by those around it. Now granted, the Ikuiki don't really have a lot of choice in the sword wielding infantry department, or even their melee infantry selection in general, but those options that are available are basically all better. Perhaps not statistically so, but in reality they are. I'll go into more depth on Lone Sword Ashigaru later, but they are such a fantastic unit for their cost. Even among other Ronin, the Yari Ronin are a solid alternative. They will get bested by Katana Ronin as expected, but they also have a significantly lower upkeep cost and the ability to counter cavalry. And when you get further along in a campaign, you'd be a fool to use Katana Ronin over something like Naginata Warrior Monks. That's not to say they're entirely useless, no unit is. They hold their own in combat quite well against most units, even some that I placed higher on this list. And if you want a sword wielding unit that can withstand arrow fire better than all aforementioned units, Katana Ronin are your only choice. You don't even get any of the sword wielding hero units as the Ikko Ikki, and that is the sole reason I decided to place them here, and not at the bottom of the list. Coming in at number 4 is Nodachi Samurai. Another difficult to place unit, as I know how much some of you love them, but I'm trying to stay as unbiased in these lists as possible, and so I placed them here. Nodachi Samurai are a very solid unit with an almost unrivaled charge bonus, and they will beat almost every unit on this list in a 1v1 situation. But that's not what a battle and a campaign looks like. Due to their low armor, they are a prime target for enemy archers, and because they are so vulnerable, you also can't really send them around the flanks for fear of getting caught by cavalry. This makes them a difficult unit to use, and to get value out of. You can't send them safely through the center because they'll get shot to pieces, and you can't send them around the flanks for protection because they'll get destroyed by cavalry. That said, if you play well, micro your way around the battlefield and protect them from harm, they can give you a lot of bang for your buck. If they do get into melee unmolested, they will slaughter just about anything in record time. They are poor in prolonged melee, but the melees they enter generally don't last that long due to their stupendous charge bonus. Finally, they have access to Banzai, which pumps that charge up even further and makes them unbreakable for a short time. To sum up, protect this unit well or suffer the consequences. That brings us to the top 3, starting with the Wako Raiders. This is an absolutely brilliant unit with fantastic melee stats at a very low price. These are essentially samurai tier units wearing an Ashigaru badge. They will even destroy most samurai tier units in melee without breaking a sweat. They have Kisho training, which allows them to deploy outside of the deployment zone similar to Kisho Ninja. They also have an easier time hiding and will even remain hidden anywhere whilst walking. They do of course have a few downsides, and these are as follows. For starters, Wako Raiders don't have the greatest of armor, which means they're not a great mainline infantry unit, as they will take heavy casualties from arrow fire. Although due to their Kisho training they shouldn't be used as a mainline infantry anyway. That said, their armor is better than that of Ashigaru units, so they'll be able to take more punishment than a Yari Ashigaru for example. They do however share their unit size with other samurai units, instead of Ashigaru. Their biggest fault however has nothing to do with their statistics, but their recruitment requirements. In order to recruit these you need a sword school, and a military port. Meaning it is easier to recruit the arguably better Katana Samurai in campaigns, but more importantly, playing as the Mori, the nearest town with a blacksmith, Bizen, doesn't have a port, so you'll have to make do with unupgraded Wako Raiders for a long time, at which point you might be better off just recruiting Katana Samurai. Speaking of Katana Samurai, you will find them here at number 2. Katana Samurai are the bread and butter of any Shogun 2 army, even though historically they definitely weren't. The battlefield was no place for a katana, and they were only really used by samurai as they were wandering the streets of their favorite town. But that's neither here nor there. When it comes to the game, Katana Samurai are probably the most recognizable unit, and for good reason. Katana Samurai excel at being a mainline unit. They best just about any other unit in a 1v1, and they have enough armor to not fall over at the sight of an arrow. They're easy to recruit and no more expensive than other units at their tier. They might not have anything special going for them, they don't have any access to any fancy abilities, and they certainly don't have any anti-cavalry capability, but they don't need those things to be a solid unit. Just play to their strengths, which is to destroy other melee infantry. And even against most cavalry units they'll do alright in a pinch. This is the kind of unit you can descend into combat and forget about, as you'll know they'll always do well. Finally at number 1 I have placed Lone Sword Ashigaru. If you've been watching my channel for longer than 5 seconds, you've heard me raving on about how fantastic Yari Ashigaru are. And I'm not about to change my opinion on them, but I must admit there is a difference between using Yari Ashigaru yourself or having the AI use them. When you use them yourself, you put them in Yari Wall and they will absolutely dominate anything they meet. However, when the AI uses them, they tend to leave them out of Yari Wall, and even if they put them in Yari Wall, it is easy to manipulate the AI into taking them out of it. The reason I'm telling you this now is because this knowledge makes Lone Sword Ashigaru an incredibly good alternative to Yari Ashigaru. In the early game, and all the enemy has access to is Yari Ashigaru, your Lone Sword Ashigaru perform absolutely fantastically. They will do well, if not better, than your own Yari Ashigaru would. And once they gain some experience, they will do amazingly against Samurai tier units as well. They share their unit size with Yari Ashigaru, so they have more men than Samurai do, meaning experience has a bigger impact on them. Last but absolutely not least, they can be recruited in every town from the get-go, and they are the cheapest unit in the game in terms of upkeep alongside Oda Yashigaru. All those things combined make them the best unit on this list. That's gonna do it for the top 8 sword infantry units. Let me know what you think of my list and tell me which category you'd like to see covered next. Check out my merchandise store if you love Shogun 2 as much as I do. If you enjoy these types of videos, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It really helps me a lot. You'll find all the relative links in the description. Thank you very much for watching, hope you've enjoyed, have a good day and goodbye.